Download this code from codegive.com, link in the description below. Customizing an Angular breadcrumb component can greatly enhance the user experience by providing clear navigation paths. This tutorial will guide you through creating a customizable breadcrumb component using Angular, including how to use templates for personalization. Step 1. Setting up your Angular project. First, you need to create a new Angular project if you don't have one yet. You can do this using the Angular CLI. Bash. ng new breadcrumb example. cd breadcrumb example. ng serve. Step 2. Creating the breadcrumb component. Generate a new breadcrumb component. Bash. ng generate component breadcrumb. Step 3. Defining the breadcrumb model. Create a simple model to represent the breadcrumb items. This could be done in a new file called breadcrumb.model.ts. TypeScript //src/app/breadcrumb.model.ts. Export interface breadcrumb. Label, string. URL, string. Step 4. Implementing the breadcrumb component. Open the breadcrumb.component.ts file and implement the logic to manage the breadcrumb items. TypeScript //app/breadcrumb/breadcrumb.component.ts. Import component, input from @angular/core. Import breadcrumb from /breadcrumb.model. Add component. Selector, app breadcrumb. Template URL, ./breadcrumb.component.html. Style URLs, ./breadcrumb.component.css. Export class breadcrumb component. Add input, breadcrumbs, breadcrumb equals. Step 5. Creating the breadcrumb template. In breadcrumb.component.html, create a template that will loop through the breadcrumb items and display them. You can also provide a way to customize the display using ng template. HTML -app/breadcrumb/breadcrumb.component.html nav ng container *ng for equals let breadcrumb of breadcrumbs, let last equals last. ng container *ng if equals last, else last breadcrumb. A router link equals breadcrumb.url breadcrumb.label/angt /ng container ng template last breadcrumb span breadcrumb.label/span /ng template /ng container /nav. Step 6. Using the breadcrumb component. Now, you can use the breadcrumb component in your application. Open app-component.ts and define some breadcrumbs. TypeScript //src/app/app-component.ts. Import component from @angular/core. Import breadcrumb from ./breadcrumb.model. Add component. Selector, approot. Template URL, ./appcomponent.html. Style URLs, ./appcomponent.css. Export class app component. Breadcrumbs, breadcrumb equals. Label, home, URL, / Label, library, URL, / library. Label, data, URL, / library / data. Then, use the breadcrumb component in your app-component.html. HTML -src/app/app-component.html h1 Angular breadcrumb example /h1. App breadcrumb breadcrumbs equals breadcrumb /app breadcrumb. Step 7. Adding custom templates. To allow for more customization, you can add an ng template input to your breadcrumb component. This allows you to define how each breadcrumb item should be displayed. Update breadcrumb.component.ts to accept a custom template. TypeScript. Import component, input, template ref from @angular/core. Add component. Selector, app breadcrumb. Template URL, ./breadcrumb.component.html. Style URLs, ./breadcrumb.component.css. Export class breadcrumb component. Add input, breadcrumbs, breadcrumb equals. Add input, custom template, template ref any null equals null. Now, modify breadcrumb.component.html to use the custom template if provided. HTML -src/app/breadcrumb/breadcrumb.component.html -nav ng container *ng for equals let breadcrumb of breadcrumbs, let last equals last. ng container *ng if equals custom template, else default template. ng container *ng template outlet equals custom template, context, $implicit, breadcrumb/ng container. /ng container. ng template default template. ng container *ng if equals, last, else last breadcrumb. A router link equals breadcrumb.url breadcrumb.label/angt. /ng container. ng template last breadcrumb. Span breadcrumb.label/span. /ng template. /ng template. /ng container. /nav. Step 8, using custom templates in the app component. In your app component.html, you can now pass a custom template to the breadcrumb component. HTML -src/app/app component.html -h1 angular breadcrumb example /h1 ng template custom breadcrumb let breadcrumb. A router link equals breadcrumb.url breadcrumb.label/a /ng template. App breadcrumbs equals breadcrumbs custom template equals custom breadcrumbs/app breadcrumb. Step 9, adding styles. You can add CSS to breadcrumb.component.css to style your breadcrumb as needed. For example, CSS /*app/breadcrumb/breadcrumb.component.css*/ nav. Padding, 1 em. Background, f5 f5 f5. Border radius, 5 px. NAVA. Text decoration, none. Color, 007 BFF. NAV span. Font weight, bold. Conclusion. You now have a fully functional and customizable breadcrumb component in your Angular application. You can easily modify the appearance of each breadcrumb item using templates, making it flexible for different use cases. You can further enhance this component by adding features like active link styling, icons, or handling dynamic breadcrumb generation based on the application's root structure. Customizing an Angular breadcrumb component can enhance the user experience by providing a clear navigation path. In this tutorial, we will create a simple breadcrumb component in Angular and customize its template to meet your needs. Step 1, set up your Angular project. If you haven't already set up an Angular project, you can do so by running the following commands. Bash ng new breadcrumb demo. Cd breadcrumb demo. ng serve. Step 2, create the breadcrumb component. Generate a new breadcrumb component using Angular CLI. Bash ng generate component breadcrumb. Step 3, define your breadcrumb service. Create a service to manage breadcrumb data. This can be done by generating a new service. Bash ng generate service breadcrumb. In the generated service file, breadcrumb.service.ts, you can define a simple API to manage breadcrumb items. TypeScript //breadcrumb.service.ts. Import injectable from @Angular/core. Import behavior subject from RxJS. Export interface breadcrumb. Label, string. URL, string. @Injectable. Provided in, root. Export class breadcrumb service. Private breadcrumb subject equals new behavior subject breadcrumb. Breadcrumbs $equals this breadcrumb subject as observable. Set breadcrumbs, breadcrumbs, breadcrumb. This breadcrumbs subject next, breadcrumbs. Step 4, implement the breadcrumb component. Open the breadcrumb component file, breadcrumb.component.ts, and subscribe to the breadcrumb data from the service. TypeScript //breadcrumb.component.ts. Import component, on init from @Angular/core. Import breadcrumb service from /breadcrumb.service. @Component. Selector, @breadcrumb. Template URL, ./breadcrumb.component.html. Style URLs, ./breadcrumb.component.css. Export class breadcrumb component implements on init. Breadcrumbs, breadcrumb equals. Constructor, private breadcrumb service, breadcrumb service. Gone init. This breadcrumb service breadcrumbs $.subscribe, breadcrumbs equals. This breadcrumbs equals breadcrumbs. Step 5, customize the breadcrumb template. In the breadcrumb component template, breadcrumb.component.html, you can customize how the breadcrumbs are displayed. HTML. NAV aria label equals breadcrumb. ng container *ng for equals let breadcrumb of breadcrumbs, let last equals last. ng container *ng if equals, last. A router link equals breadcrumb.url breadcrumb.label/angt. /ng container. ng container *ng if equals last. Span breadcrumb.label/span. /ng container. /ng container. /nav. Style. NAV. Padding, 10px. NAVA. Text decoration, none. Color, blue. NAVA hover. Text decoration, underline. /style. Step 6, use the breadcrumb component. You will need to use this breadcrumb component in your application. For example, you could include it in your main application component, appcomponent.html. HTML. appbreadcrumb/appbreadcrumb. Router outlet/router outlet. Step 7, set up breadcrumbs in your routes. You can set up breadcrumbs in your routing module. Here's an example of how to do that in your app routing.module.ts. TypeScript. Import ng module from @Angular/core. Import router module, routes from @Angular/router. Import home component from ./home/home.component. Import about component from ./about/about.component. Import breadcrumb service from ./breadcrumb.service. Const routes, routes equals. Path, component, home component. Path, about, component, about component. @ng module. Imports, router module. For route, routes. Exports, router module. Export class app routing module. Constructor, private breadcrumb service, breadcrumb service. This .breadcrumb service set breadcrumbs. Label, home, URL, / label, about, URL, / about. Step 8, test your application. Run your application with ng-serve and navigate between the routes. You should see the breadcrumbs being displayed according to your routing configuration. Additional customization. You can further customize your breadcrumb component by 1. Adding icons. Use an icon library, like Font Awesome, to add icons next to breadcrumb items. 2. Styling. Enhance the CSS styles to match your application's theme. 3. Dynamic breadcrumbs. Create a more dynamic breadcrumb system by updating breadcrumbs based on the current route's metadata. Conclusion. You now have a basic but customizable breadcrumb component in your Angular application. This component can be further enhanced based on specific requirements and can significantly improve user navigation. Experiment with different styles and functionalities to make it fit well within your application.